I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You've been ministering for years and years. Someone comes to you and they say, I'm very concerned with today. I'm concerned with our country. I'm concerned about my family, the events of the world, trouble over here and situations over there. And so I think the most important thing I should read is not the Bible because it's old, but the newspaper because it's today. And so how would you respond to someone like that when it seems that the thing that I need most is help with today, with the right now? And the Bible is such an old book. It doesn't mention the events of the today. It doesn't even mention most of the countries today.
Great question. Well, first of all, I would really commend the individual for wanting to stay up with the times in which we live. You can become so riveted to the Bible that you think there's no reason to read about current events or to read other books or to even glance over a newspaper or listen to an evening news. My answer to that broadly would be, you understand when you're reading a book or a newspaper or whatever, the authors are all fallible people. And they often have a slant in what they're writing. And what one writes, you can read somewhere else that another disagrees with, and so you're left with, which one do I believe? Some say our country's different than it used to be, but it's not really leaving the essentials of life. You and I would believe that it is eroding, that many of those principles that made our country great are under attack and are shifting. Now, the thing I would say to them about the Bible is that it is timeless, it is true, therefore it's reliable, and the ones who wrote it wrote under the empowerment, I call it, of the Holy Spirit. And therefore, you can trust it. Now, to the surprise of some, you can read a lot about our times when you get into some of the letters of Paul. Or one of the prophets. And you read and you think, sounds like he's living where I live right now. And in the last days, difficult times will come, Paul writes to Timothy, and you realize he's in touch with the real world. So someone who can teach the Bible in a way that helps everybody realize it's making sense will have a calming influence, because you realize from the scriptures, not from newspapers and not from most books, that God is in control. And being in control, nothing that's happening is happening outside the framework of his directive will or his permissive will. And I know that's a lot of theology there, but when you unpack all of that, you come away with a sense of, I don't have to worry my way through life. I can trust my God to watch over the affairs of our day and of any day.
I think if you look at where the words end up, the current newspaper 3 weeks ago is in the garbage because we're waiting for the next piece of news. The Bible is the best-selling book of all time, bar none. The most translated book in the most languages, has affected the most people, and so it is that timelessness.
I will sometimes say to my wife, Cynthia, when I finished my study for the week, I'll walk downstairs and we'll have supper together, and I'll say, it happened again. And she'll say, what? I'll say, I realize all over again how great the Bible is. I've dug into this section of his word, and I've been able to glean from it. We'll talk about how we can do that. You don't have to be a preacher to do it. You don't have to be a pastor. But I've drawn from it, and I've come to realize nothing is more relevant or reliable or meaningful in a life than this. Sometimes I'll even tear up because I realize this ancient book is just as in touch as the day it was written or before those words were written. God has it all put together.
I think about the book of Judges, for example. We're about 2,000 years since Christ came, died, resurrected, and ascended to the right hand of the Father. The book of Judges is about 1,200 years before Christ. So
I mean, it almost feels dusty.
Yeah.
Almost irrelevant when you say that, but it isn't.
Well, and that's the thing. There's a theme in the book of Judges that emerges. We see 3 times that the author of Judges says, in these days, each one did what was right in their own eyes. And it's like he was reading our newspaper. It looks like our days today. And I think one of the things that the Bible can give people where they're probably looking for it in the newspaper and ultimately never getting it is the big picture, the big answers. We know because we live today, we're right on the cutting edge. We're the best there's ever been. And we're not. We're just like all the people and all the generations who've come before us.
It dawned on me some time ago that we think our times are just the worst it's ever possibly been.
Absolutely.
Last time I checked, they weren't lighting up a stadium with the bodies of Christians as they did in the first century when Nero was the emperor.
Yeah.
There are some treacherous things happening.
Yes.
And our days are tumultuous, and they're certainly troubling. But this kind of thing has happened before. And Judges is a reminder that life repeats itself. God sent judges, he rescued them, and they've all promised they'll never do that again, and they did it again, and they fell into trouble, and he sent them another judge. He rescued them, and they came out of it, and they promised, and it's a cycle.
Yeah.
All the way through Judges.
Another thing I think of with the Bible is that in comparison to a newspaper, in comparison to today, is Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The Bible gives us a beginning. It tells us where we came from, and God made them in his own image. Male and female, he made them. Genesis 1:26 and 27. And it doesn't even merely tell us where we're coming from, which newspapers lack. It tells us where we're going. It tells us how it ends. And so the Bible gives us a complete story. The newspaper kind of wants to take a snapshot of today. And like you said, there's differing opinions as to what today really looks like.
Right.